And so obviously, speaking of eliminations, there is a rumour that I wanted to address with you. So obviously, as we know, Art Simone came back unexpectedly into the competition in episode 4, which was the episode after you were there. And obviously, people couldn't really understand why she was brought back and not you, because obviously you technically had a better track record than she did. There's a rumour that apparently they lost the footage of her elimination and your lip sync, so you had to redo your lip sync. Can you confirm or deny?
Yeah, we did. And like I remember like being in that like awful Airbnb, and Jojo and I like went out for dinner, and I was like, "Where's Art? Like, have you heard from her?" And he's like, "Oh no, wait, with the lip sync, okay." They had messaged me saying that they had lost the audio, I think it was, so we had to refilm the whole thing together. And then they sent me a photo of my look and my outfit, and got ready like at 5 o'clock in the morning, had to shoot that because they had the whole rest of the day to do what they usually do. But like we had to, I just thought it was the lip sync, but we had to walk the runway again, stand in the line, and like the producer like sat at the judges table and read like everything that the judges had said, and they needed our reactions, and like if we said something back, they were like, okay, this is what you said, say it again. So it ended up being like really long, and then we had to do the lip sync a couple of times because like of course I knew that I had won, so I wasn't going like 110% like I did in the first one. And then they're like, Coco, we need more energy. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's how I did it on the day. And they're like, we need more. I'm like, oh, like, what am I gonna do? And then because like we'd filmed it a couple of times, when I walked off, I think it was the last one, I walked off, I was like, sos bitch. And then like kept on walking. And then they kept that in.
That's so interesting. So just to sort of clarify, make sure I understand. So they lost the audio of your original lip sync. So you were brought back and you had to do not only the runway again, but also the entire lip sync. So what we saw on TV was actually your like third time doing it, not the first time.
That was our, the lip sync was probably the third time. The judges, like our reaction to the judges was like our second time of doing it.
That is crazy. So, because you must have known that you knew that you had won the lip sync. And I guess, like you said, you probably weren't doing 100% what you've done the first time, because obviously lip syncs, the whole point is it's not choreographed, it's kind of in the moment a little bit. Yes. Bizarre. So obviously, so that's good to know that rumor is actually true. I think Art Simone actually spilt that herself, maybe, or it was rumored.
She tweeted that like as it happened. I was like, oh god! Like I think,
and then it was deleted.
The contract, you're allowed to do that.
But how did you feel about Art being asked to come back rather than you? Because at the time you tweeted saying, "Give the white girl another go; she deserves it." So how did you feel about it?
Well, I was a little bit like butthurt, of course, like that we weren't even like, it was just like, not like bring her back, like I want her, like no questions asked, let's bring Art Simone out of a trash can again. And like in like my life, I've always like, being a person of color, it's like all I've ever seen is like white people get ahead easier, and like it's just like the way things are and like have been. So like watching her get another second chance with no reason, I was like, all right, like if that's the way you want to play it. But like silly me, because I should have known from the beginning that she would be like coming back, because like when she left a note behind, and so like watch out, like they wouldn't have made like such a big deal about that if something already wasn't in the works.
Yes, I was going to ask you about the note actually, because that was something in the third episode. So the episode after you sent her home, you found this note on your station that said "watch out," and Art Simone has since said that it was like, she confirmed that it was her in like a live performance and stuff.
Right.
What did you think? So did you know it was from Art, or you highly suspected it
No,
was?
I had no idea.
Oh,
I just suspected that it was her. Like, it makes sense to have been. But
and
I
you
knew that
think,
she would have just like wrote it willy-nilly. Like, she would have been told to.
yeah. So do you think that she wrote it though, knowing that she was going to be brought back then?
I think so, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Because I thought, she did a live performance where she talked about that it was her, and she was like joking that she did it in her favorite color and she wrote it with her left hand or something like, and she was just like, so I wasn't sure if she was doing it just to kind of screw with you a little bit, or, but it's interesting to know that maybe there was a bit more behind it.
Yeah. And because like apart from like that, like Art and I like have had very like little interaction with each other, so I don't think that she'd like. I don't think she'd go out of her way to be like, watch out. Like, in what for?